Hello again, Fishalots. It's Johnnyfishalot here, and boy, do I got some tricks for you on how you can tie an improved FG knot that I think will really help you when you're out there on the water. So first, let me show you how to tie this knot, then I'll show you what makes this an improved FG knot. So first, you're just going to fold your line over just like this and wrap it around your pinky and your index finger to create a loop. And the purpose of this loop is so that you can have tension on the line just like that the entirety of tying the knot, which is going to be very important at the end of the knot, which I'm going to show you. Next is, of course, you're going to add your monofilament here. And another advantage to this method that I'm showing you is you do not need tension on the mono, only on the braid. So that's a huge benefit, makes it that much easier to do. So first, what I like to do is make my first wrap away from me, just like that. And there you go. That is the beginnings of the FG knot right there. Next tip here is I'm going to grab the mono with my middle finger, not the tag end, but the end that's running to my spool. And this is going to just keep this mono out of the way while I make my wrap. So what's going to happen is as you wrap the mono is going to want to pull away from you. It has a lot of memory to it, and it's going to want to twist. It's just going to cause you a lot of heartache while you're trying to tie this knot, and this just makes it that much easier. So I got a hold of the mono with my middle finger, and I got a hold of the tag end with my right hand. And I'm just going to continue my wraps. So now my second wrap is going to be towards me, and there you go. And you're just going to alternate it away from you and towards you, away from you and towards you. The magic number here to many is 21 wraps. Now I've seen people go with 17. I've experimented with both. I don't see a huge difference between them, but you know, if you want to be safe, just do 21 wraps. The other thing I'm going to show you here is as you tie your knot right here, sometimes what will happen is the braid will try to turn itself just like that. There you go. I was waiting for it to do it. So you don't want this right here where the braid is going to wrap around the base of your FG knot. You always want the wraps in front of the knot just like this. And a really easy way to do that is just push on the tag end against your braid and the knot will come done just like that. And then you can just continue your wraps. There you go, just like that. Again, I'm talking and tying a knot at the same time, so it's tough to keep track of how many wraps there are. So eventually I'm just going to call it good on 17 or 21 wraps. But you just keep doing it over and over again. And as you get good at this, you can easily tie an FG knot under a minute. I've done it. I have a video on it. It's actually a really, really easy knot. People make it a little more complicated than it has to be. It's really not, especially using this method right here. You don't need a boat. You don't need rod holders. You'll hear a lot of critics say stuff like that. You know, you got to keep it in your teeth and wrap it around your head and keep it in your toes, and that's how you do an FG knot. You could tell how easy this is. All I'm doing is just wrapping the line around the monofilament line around the braid, and I don't know, I think that's 21 wraps. Let's call that good. So I'm going to undo the end of the wraps there, the tag end of the braid, and let's take a look at what we got so far. So there you go. That is your FG knot right there in a nutshell. You can see how even these wraps are and how tight they are together. That is perfect. That's exactly what you want, because when you tighten this down, you want these wraps to dig into the monofilament evenly. That's what gives the FG knot superior strength over things like the Albright knot or the Alberto knot or any of these other knots. So this is really what you want. That's why the tension on the line is so key. All right, now let's talk about securing the knot. So now you have your wraps. You need to secure the wraps, and that's where half hitch knots come into play. So what I like to do is I like to do two alternating half hitch knots. And what I mean by alternating is this knot right here, this line is going to go over the mono and the braid. So that's going to be one end of my half hitch. There we go. I'm going to use my teeth here. And there you go. So that's one wrap. I went over. Now my next wrap, I'm going to go under, just like this. And there you go. This is your alternating half hitch knots. So now the wraps are actually secured with the half hitches. What you want to do, this is the most important step to tying an FG knot, is you want to tighten it down as hard as you can. you want to put quite a bit of pressure on the line to make sure these wraps dig into the monofilament. And so that's what we're going to do now. We're just going to tighten it up. Braid hurts quite a bit. It could actually cut you, so maybe use a shirt or a towel or something to really put some pressure on there. But, you know, I like to sacrifice blood, sweat, and tears for my fish-a-lots out there, so I'm just going to wrap it right around my fingers right there and hope I don't bleed. But you really do want to put quite a bit of pressure on here to make sure the knot doesn't slip. And I actually could see that it just started digging into the mono, and that's good. As soon as it starts digging in, you know you're good. Get right back onto securing your line. And what I like to do here to finish the FG knot, we're not in the improvement yet. Stick with me here. That's coming up. Is I like to finish it off with 2 more alternating half-hitch knots. Now, some folks leave me comments when I make these videos that they use 20 half-hitches to secure the knot and all this kind of stuff. What happens if you use too many half-hitches is it makes the line bulky. It makes this end of the knot bulky, and it kind of defeats the purpose of this streamlined FG knot. So let's just tie it down. There we go. Sorry, I stuck the line in my mouth and still was trying to talk there. Classic Johnnyfishalot style. So there's my first alternating half hitch, and here's going to be my second right here. Cinch it through. Tie it down. Okay, so now you have the half hitches permanently securing your wraps here. You're just about done with this knot, but here's where the improvement comes into play. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut this monofilament piece as close as I can to the main line without breaking it or sacrificing the strength of the braid. So you just want to cut it as close as you can. And this is where a really great tip comes into play. See that? That is super, super close right there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie our old friend a uni knot to finish the overall FG knot. And all I'm going to do here is, if you're unfamiliar with the uni knot, I have links in the description below, and I have a lot of YouTube videos about it. But you're just going to make a loop just like that, and you're just going to start wrapping the tag end around your main line. Now, for a uni knot, 5 to 7 wraps is good. You don't have to go crazy with it. So again, I'm talking, so I can't really keep track of the numbers. So we're going to call that 5 to 7. So you should end up with something like this. So now what you're going to do is you're going to want to take your tag end right here, and you're going to want to pinch it up against the FG knot that you have secured, just like that. So now you're going to take the bottom end, and you're actually going to make reverse wraps over the 2 lines in the braid, okay? And this is going to unravel this line right here on the end. And this is also called a whipping knot, but this is a reverse uni knot essentially. And you know when you're done, when all the wraps come out of this end and you just left with a loop essentially. So there we go. We're just going to keep wrapping, or unraveling, I should say. I may have actually done more than 7 knots. And there you go. So you know you're done with the wraps when there's no more wraps along this line right here. You see the difference there? All you're left with is a loop, and all you're going to do now is you're going to grab your tag end and just going to tighten this all down. And the reverse uni knot is so good because, of course, you want this knot to secure up against the FG knot. You don't want it securing all the way up here, which doesn't do you any good. So there you go. You're just going to tie it on down. It's easier with my teeth, but I can't talk. Yeah, we're just going to cinch it all down, just like that. Now, take a look at this knot right here. So you got your classic FG knot right here, but now you don't have that abrupt end to the half hitches right here. What you have is a neat little ramp you created with a uni knot, so that when you bring this knot through the guides of your rod, it's not beating up against the guides, and it just kind of created this nice little ramp where it just smoothly and seamlessly runs through the guides of your rod. All you gotta do now is just cut off this tag end. There we go. And there you go, Fishalots. That is the improved FG knot with a little ramp so that the knot doesn't get damaged as it goes through your guides, and it's smooth as it could possibly get. And hey, Fishalots, if you enjoyed this content, feel free to click on the link below where I have a free masterclass on how you can tie over 26 knots and rigs that'll serve you well for every inshore fishing application or situation you may find yourself in. And of course, click on this end card right here if you want a whole playlist on knots just like this with helpful tips and tricks to help you when you're out there on the water. Thanks for tuning in, Fishalots. I'll see you out on the water.